Oh, so we're live?
I think so.
All right. Welcome to Table Talks. I am your host today, Vernice Mechel, and this is April Starks and Martina Young. Welcome to Table Talks. Table Talks is our baby. We came together one day at lunch, at breakfast actually, and
it
turned into lunch. Right. You know, we are just natural talkers, and we come together and have these great conversations. And we were like, you know what, we need to share these conversations with other people. And so that's when Martina came up with Table Talks. Yes, that's where we are. We are talking at a table. So pull up a chair. Come on into the virtual room, pull up a chair, and let's have a conversation. Today's topic is a topic that we came up with months ago, and it is a needed topic right now: emotional intelligence. And I just have to say this, that it's something that has been on my mind all year to talk about emotional intelligence, because our emotions. This has been a very emotional year.
Yes,
2020 has been very emotional, and we have to tap into and our stability. Because if you act off emotions, it will cause you to have make decisions that are permanent, and you will go back and like, should I have made that decision? Yeah. And so let's open up and discuss, ladies. What topics? Let's define emotional intelligence. How about that? And so, how do you all define emotional intelligence?
When I think of that, I know there's scientific language for that, but to just bring it to just how we said, we just conversate, and we're not trying to be something that we're not. We're trying to be that sister. We're trying to be, that neighbor that's able to just talk to you on a daily basis. So when I think about emotional intelligence, I think of just even how we have to strategize intelligently on how to manage our emotions. And that's different for each person. Mm-hmm. So for us to give this cookie cutter, like you have to do this for emotional intelligence, sometimes may make some individuals feel that they don't have that control to be able to do that. But everybody handles things differently. And so for one person to look at someone else and say, oh, you're just not emotionally stable, and someone else looking at another person, oh, you just think you're perfect, it's not fair. The person who may be dealing with something devastating for them at the moment just may need some assistance on how they personally can gain a strategy for themselves, although you may have a strategy that has worked for you over the years. So even now, I can say for me in 2020, so many things have rocked our boat.
From the beginning, first January,
it's really rocked our boat. But I honestly have, when I feel it, I let myself feel it.
Yeah.
I allow myself to feel it, number one. And then I always begin to think about things that I came through before. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's my intelligent way to manage my emotions. Mm-hmm. I'm like, he brought me through that. Okay, I can make it. So I make myself recall not to go sit into a state of, oh my goodness, what I've gone through. Because how they say, don't look through the rearview mirror, but look ahead. But sometimes I do that because that's protection. Have y'all ever been driving? And honestly, I have had to move my car at a light because the person behind me hit me. Mm-hmm. So just think if I didn't look through my rearview mirror to see that, and it happened last week. This guy, he was rolling, wasn't paying attention on his phone. And I see his great hit me, and I moved up in the light, and he was like, mm-hmm. So sometimes we do have to do that for protection and safety, not to, waddle in it, but to say, wait a minute. I just saved myself from something. I allowed myself to move a little bit forward because of what I saw from the back. So I think that's my example for me of what I do to help myself to manage my emotions.
Yes. We are an emotional people.
Yeah.
Right.
That it's just a part of our makeup. And so for us to deny part of who we are, that would mean that we are denying part of our makeup, our DNA. And so facing it is, you have to face it.
Right.
You know, you can't suppress it, because if you suppress it, it's going to come out. It's going to explode. So Martina?
I would say my definition of emotional intelligence is being able to navigate through my emotions. So like we were talking about with the water, it really is like our emotions at times are like the waves of the sea. But just because I'm in the boat and I'm on the sea, that does not mean I have to allow the waves to overtake me. So emotional intelligence for me has been that when my emotions are trying to rule me, that I navigate through them to where the waves of emotion do not overtake me. So like emotional intelligence to me is a navigational tool. Like literally, okay guys, so this is what I'm facing, this is what I'm going through. But sometimes people think that the thoughts and the feelings that we have, that not only do, like you said, we have to acknowledge them, but that does not mean that I have to allow it to overtake me. You know what I mean? And so like it's recognizing that within me is the ability to manage my thoughts. My thoughts do not have to overwhelm me.
Yes.
So just because that thought comes over or that emotion comes over does not mean that I have to give into it and allow it to then control me.
Yes.
It's basically, instead of my emotions controlling me, that I intelligently navigate through them.
Yes.
That's what.
Yes, both of you all have used two words that, you know, were trigger words for me. Strategy and navigate.
Yes.
Strategy and navigate. That we have to have a strategy to be able to navigate through how we feel. And that sometimes causes us to be able to, we have to intentionally be still in the moment. When we are having that emotional response, you know, we want to immediately go out and react. And so you have to pause. You have to give yourself pause to it.
That comes up again.
Yeah, pause.
Martina's 3 P's.
Yes, you have to pause.
Oh.
Pause. And that comes into the stillness and breathe. You have to breathe through it. And also something that you said, Martina, is self. Being aware of yourself. Being aware of your triggers. What triggers you? You know? April, you said something about, you know, recalling the things that you have gotten through, but also recalling the things that triggered you.
That's right.
You have to make note of that. You know, if I'm going to continue to put myself in situations that are going to continually trigger me, you know, I have to be aware of self. So let's talk about that.
Yes.
Being aware of something goes right back to identity.
It goes back to identity, and it's something that you said that, because one of the things that God gave me that has helped is that just because you're triggered, you don't have to be trapped in it. So just because the situation,
that's a good no.
Yeah, like literally, just because it triggers you, but you don't have to be trapped by that trigger. So recognize, okay, this is a trigger for me. That does not mean that I have to be trapped inside that emotion. And a lot of times that's what happens. Like we tend to be reactive, and literally we're in a time where we have to be more proactive with our emotions. That is recognizing my triggers so that I know if this is something that bothers me, or literally when I feel myself triggered, instead of giving into it and being trapped in that cycle, that's a trigger. Let me not be trapped inside of this emotion. So that, triggered, not trapped.
That's a write down moment. I hope you got your pen and paper, because that one right there. Yes. April, you want to add?
That's a good point. She got me like, what?
Stuck at the trigger, not trap.
Trigger, not trap. Oh goodness, I could go on with that one. That's the point. We could stay on for a moment, because there are things that are going to come that just evoke certain emotions, and we should actually embrace the fact that we have the ability to feel.
Yeah.
You know, so that takes it to another perspective, that I have the ability to feel anger, fear, frustration, anxiety, because when I feel those things, it allows me to come into the realness of the moment. You know, many times that allows, you know, it shapes us to come into the realness of now. Because if not, we're a lot of times in a lot of other places and not present with ourselves. So when I feel that, I do need to pause. That's a good trigger for me. Pause. Martina's 3 P's: pause, pray, proceed. So I have to pause, I have to pray, our process.
Yeah, that's
whatever it's for you.
Yeah. Process. Yeah.
Process. Pause. Process. Proceed. How am I going to proceed? So for me, on Wednesday this week, very real emotion, very real transparent time. On Wednesday, I took a mental health day. Because I knew that it was necessary and it was in order for me. I didn't want to take that day and continue to do what I normally do. Because if not, I would miss the moment of feeling. If I had to feel, I wasn't going to just continue my normal routine. So I took that out and do anything. I lay on the couch. I did, I took my time to feel and process. And then towards the end of the day, I was like, okay, how am I going to proceed? And then there were certain things that I knew were not an option for me. Then there's certain things I knew was. So that's a good point. Maybe make a list for yourself. What are things that are options for you, even when you're going through a particular situation? And then what things are not an option? So then that helps you get another strategy of how to intelligently deal with your emotions when you're encountering them, and being okay with the triggers, being okay with those things that make you feel. That's okay. We should feel. But then having that time to deal with it is important.
Yes. Facing it, feeling it, and I'm going to add another F because I pick up on those words. And so we have to free it. We have to free those in the process of dealing and grasping our emotions, because we are emotional people. That is okay. And that's okay. Sometimes I don't deal with my emotion, especially, we are women, but we do have men in our lives that we communicate with, and we have to break that for them, have them process in a healthy way, that they will be able to be free of the tightness, because you know how you hold something in, you hold those emotions in that goes. I'm a nurse, and so I got to give you some medical in it. And so when we hold in those emotions, when we don't allow it to become free, it's going, that energy. Emotions is an energy. If we break down the word emotion, the E, if you go to the algebra, we would say algebra, E equals emotion. And so that motion is going to propel us, or it's going to freeze us, or it's going to even make us revert back. And so we have to take that energy, and that energy is going to go somewhere. And so if we do not express it, we do not express the emotions, that it's going to come out somewhere. And that will come in autoimmune diseases, our heart issues. And so we have to allow ourselves to process, feel it, and free it. And we have to find healthy ways to free our emotions. Like April, her strategy on Wednesday, I'm just going to veg out on the couch. And I do the same thing. I was out of town and I was just like feeling it,
Mhm.
and I just laid in the bed all day. I got off work and I just laid in the bed, and that was my plan. You know, I intentionally
Mhm.
was like, I have to process. This is how I'm going to process this. I made some chili. I had some chili and ate my chili and got in the bed. I did. And so we have to allow ourselves that freeing up space.
That's good.
And be okay with it.
Yeah.
Be okay.
I like something you said, just being able to intentionally do that, because we have to. And then sometimes we got to have people to hold us accountable to.
Right.
That's knowing you as well. When we
Yeah.
talk about evaluating yourself,
Mhm.
when you are learning how you navigate the waves, you may say, like Martina says, is I'm a navigate, but I need accountability to help me pause. Because if not, I'm going to continue. That's just me. Because certain people deal that way. I have a family member, they just keep going. I'm like, no, that was major. You have to pause right here. Even though you don't want to feel it, you got to pause right here and allow yourself to free up that emotion. So sometimes we need that as well. And so we're at the table today being accountability partners for everybody.
Yes.
To encourage you.
Yeah. And literally, when you were saying that, it made me think about something years ago when you were talking about E represents. It's like emotions that sometimes our emotions end up being emotions, but emotion. But it's like God emotions, okay? But God gave us emotions so that we can feel. You know what I mean? Like that we can feel joy, happiness, anger, even fear. Fear is not supposed to possess us, but one of the purposes of fear is like if we are in a dangerous situation and we need to be removed from it.
Yes.
But he never meant for the emotions to rule us. You know, it's like you said, I have to acknowledge that I'm feeling this, but I do not have to allow what I'm feeling to govern me, because the truth is sometimes our feelings lie to us.
Yes.
And so that's why it's important, one, to know yourself, to understand emotions and feelings, because sometimes you can be feeling things and you know what I mean? It ain't even true.
It's temporary.
If I don't learn how to navigate through my emotions, it can cause me to be out of control. Like if I don't take that pause, you can end up responding to something the wrong way. If I don't pause for that moment and process what's going on, processing it to say, you know what, Lord, what is this? And then allowing God to, in the Holy Spirit, for me, my mechanism, I rely on the Holy Spirit a lot. Like this is what I'm feeling right now. Help me to process this. Help me to be free from this moment. And I think about, and what we have to recognize, even in knowing ourselves, is knowing ourselves in seasons. And what I mean by that is that last year, like I like sports, okay, like basketball and now even football. Like I like to watch it, and that's something that I can even go back and watch, different things and be like, okay, like it is a relief. I go on YouTube watching Duncan, whatever. Well, last year there was a time after my brother passed away that I was really struggling just with the emotion of processing his loss, and it was, just dealing with the whole realm of emotions. So I went to and I pulled up basketball videos to try to relax my mind. Those basketball videos ended up upsetting me because the reason that I like basketball was because of him. And so when I felt myself getting even more overwhelmed emotionally, I had to shut the video down. Because and that's what I mean about knowing yourself. Like it's important for you to know yourself. And we just had this conversation at the well yesterday, but you know yourself and you know what season you're in. Because what helped me at one time may not be what I need right now. So in knowing myself, I have to like, okay, what's going to help me right now? Right now in this season, sometimes I just have to shut down and be still for 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Cut everything, no words, no sound, no nothing. Just sit there for 5 minutes. And it's like, this is my time to recharge.
Mm-hmm.
So in emotional intelligence, you have to know, like, what do I need to free? What do I need to process this? What do I need to release it so that that emotion, that it does not send me on a place where I'm living on a roller coaster ride. Because, that's where it becomes instability, that I go from one moment happy and the next moment I'm depressed. And then you know what I'm saying? Like literally go through it, but learning ourselves so that we can find a place of, I'm free from it. I feel it. I'm processing it, but I'm not going to be managed by it, because at times we can end up, our response can end up in other situations. How many people, and I'm gonna shut up after this, y'all.
Go ahead.
How many people, for real though, like how many people have ended up in situations where they are using things such as drugs and alcohol and sex and different things to really handle an emotion, and sometimes those things are not what's going to bring me comfort in the midst of it. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, yeah, like
that's true. I think that's what I mentioned. While we're in moments of clarity, in your moments where your emotions are heightened, it may not be easy to do. But in your moments of clarity, that's what I call them, moments of clarity. That's why I think it's important to build that list of my, things that I strategize to do versus things that are not an option. So for example, Vernice mentioned even Wednesday, taking that day as well, me taking that day. I knew for me that was needful, but what was not an option is me staying there.
Right. Yeah. That's good. Look at the eyes. Good.
Like that's not an option. I'm not staying here, but I'm allow myself to feel and to be here in this moment. But pre that moment, I already know what my standards are. Like I'm not staying here. I'm not staying here for weeks and weeks. And not coming out. And then that's when you get into those perpetual cycles, and you look and say, how did I get here? Yeah. That's the how did I get here moment, because you said this, be proactive. So in our moments of clarity, we need to get battle plans, strategy plans, emotion plans, all of those. So that when the moment comes, I'm not allowing myself to venture into areas that are not an option for me. Because I've already set my boundary. Certain stuff's not an option. I don't stay here long. I let myself get there, but it don't be long. I know it's not proper English, but that's how I talk about that. It ain't
gonna be for long.
No,
that's real.
Yeah.
That's real.
You have to set that to yourself.
Yeah.
It's not nobody, I'm sharing that with you all, but that's my personal internal struggles and talks. No, you don't stay there. You don't do that.
Yeah.
It's okay to feel it. It's okay to allow yourself to mourn and to grieve. Grieve.
Yes. Grieve.
Mourn and grieve. Do all of that.
Yeah.
That is needful and in order. But just tell yourself, I don't stay here long. Just like the waves that Martina mentioned, those waves up, down. It don't just stay down, 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 down. Don't stay up, up, up. And honestly, that's how life is. I just had to tell this to my 12-year-old daughter on Friday when I was driving her to school. And this is a good one for parents and also just for us to help our young people through what is going on. My daughter literally cried the whole way to school. And I was like, okay, Lord, what do I do? I talk to other people and I try to help, but then when it's your child, you're like, I don't know what to say.
You want to cry with her.
And I felt so bad on the inside. So I just began to help her talk through some things, help her speak, because she didn't even want to speak. So I began to ask questions to probe to what the core of what she was dealing with. So eventually, when we got to the school door, I essentially found out the core of what she was dealing with. She said that she feels lonely at school. Lonely at school, a seventh grader, 12 years old. All the emotions, all the stress that goes along with that and what we used to call normal. Think of that same feeling in all this abnormal environment. Just the weight of her carrying that. And I was like, oh. So I appreciate God because I was like, okay, what do I do with this? Do I let her go home and take her time, or do I help her learn to manage her emotions right now? I was torn.
Right.
So what I did is I just walked her to the door and told the lady at the door, can you please take her to the counselor's office? She doesn't have to go to class right now. I just wanted her to be able to talk to other people, not to shrink in. Because I could have let her go home and she would have just shrunk in her room and I would have been doing my thing. No, I was like, I want to help her just a little bit. She don't have to go to class, but let me see if she'll talk to her counselor. And so she went in, got to talk to the counselor. By midday, I called the counselor to make sure she was okay. And she said, you know what? I actually gave her things to do. I gave her tasks. There was a new student today, and I asked Ayana, show the student how to use the Chromebook, show them how to log into this and this and that. And it took her focus off of her in the moment and put it on someone else. And I didn't tell her I talked to her counselor. When she got home, I was like, how was your day? She was like, I talked to the counselor. I talked to the counselor. But her countenance was better. I could tell that it helped her, that she continued through the day. She didn't call me because I told her she didn't have to go to class, but I wanted to push her to talk to the counselor. She didn't call me. She stayed the whole day, and it just helped her just a little bit to take those steps to manage strategy and navigation of her emotions at 12. And I told her, I said, if you can get this now, it's going to help you when you become an adult on how to manage when you have that. I said, it's okay, cry. I want you to let that out. That's another thing. Stop telling people not to cry. Stop telling people you cry too much. No.
Crying's good.
Crying is beautiful. And if you don't want to do it in front of people, you got to cry some tension.
You know I am.
Cry. Let it out. We need it. And if people feel embarrassed in front of people, go into their room, get your blanket.
Yes. And cry.
And cry. And let that out. And then also have, like I said, that list of what you're not gonna do. I'm gonna let this out, but I'm not gonna stay here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna release this, but I'm not gonna stay here. So let people enjoy that. And sometimes let people do that in front of you. And be okay with it. Don't make a comment. Let that person cry. They didn't ask for you to say something. Sometimes it's not for you to say anything.
Yes.
Sometimes people just need you to be there.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And be quiet.
And be quiet. And that's even why we have to be, why emotional intelligence is important, because I have to be able to, that if you're going through the moment, that I might, because you know I'm a crybaby, that even if that I can hold myself together enough to help somebody else in the midst of the situation. You know what I mean? Like emotional intelligence gives you the ability that as you're going through, that you're able to, you know, that you're able to hold yourself together, not suppress the emotions, but you're able to navigate through the moment so that you can help somebody else.
Exactly.
Because if I don't know how to do that, then I'm not going to be able to pour into you. If I'm just like, you know, in the past 2 weeks, you know, people very close to me, there's been like just some dramatic, serious life, you know, altering life or death situations. And I've had to, in the midst of it, still maintain myself so that I can, okay, let us pray about it. You know what I mean? Let me, and so that you can hear even what to say. Because oftentimes, because people don't, they say the wrong things. I mean, especially when you're talking about emotional intelligence and with dealing with people with loss. When you're going through a loss, you know, don't come and ask me how I'm doing. And my loved one is right here at the, you know what I'm saying? So,
and I used to get so mad. This is just me being honest. I used to be so mad when people ask, "How are you doing?" I just lost somebody. How do you think I'm doing?
How do
you know? But then I had to go back to emotional intelligence. I had to get check myself.
Yeah,
they're just being concerned.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just don't know what to say.
They don't know what to say.
They don't know what to say, so they just ask that question as a sign of showing themselves of having empathy and sympathy.
That's
you know, so that I had to stop. So when someone asks me that question now, I don't get upset. You know, I'm like, okay, they're just showing concern.
Yeah.
Whereas before, I would probably even say, "How do you think I'm doing?"
And then that's true.
But it really does. It's like as you gain emotional intelligence, it helps you to navigate through situations like that.
Mature.
It helps you. It really is.
The navigation matures us. We have a strategy, and that navigation helps to mature us.
And with that, let's throw that in there. So it is a maturing process. So you might be somebody who's just, you know what I mean?
That's
like
good.
you're
That's
entry
good.
level, you're
That's
recognizing it, but you don't know how to. Don't even beat yourself up about that, because it is a maturing process.
Yes.
I know for myself where over the years I can see how I have grown in that area. You know what I'm saying? Like really, you don't just come out wham bam, thank you, ma'am. I'm emotionally intelligent now. You know what I'm saying? It's a developmental thing.
Yeah.
So you have to develop in it. But one of the things that you said, God, is something that you said, not staying in the moment. The other day, just navigating through everything that's going on, God said, don't sit in it. Like what you're going through, acknowledge that it's there, but don't sit in it. And you know how me and my little analogies, but he was like, when you sit in it, it becomes a part of you. It's like marinating.
Yeah.
Don't marinate in the mess of what's going on.
Yeah.
Because when you think about meat and you put it, I don't know why you gives me analogies about cooking. But when you're cooking something, when you're making
have a meal at the table next,
you know what I'm saying? I won't be the one making it. But literally, when you're marinating meat, you set that meat in whatever you're marinating it in, and it becomes a part of it. It begins to absorb the flavor of that marinade.
Right.
So that when it's cooked, you still taste that flavor. The same thing goes with marinating in mess. Marinating in, you know what I mean? Like I'm feeling it, but we have to be mindful that I don't sit in it so long that I begin to taste like what I said. You know what I'm saying? So
that's real good. That's real good. I saw something yesterday.
Let's point out a couple
comments.
Yeah, so it's good. Thank you all for engaging with us.
It's up there. I didn't see it.
Yeah,
on my phone too.
So thank you all for joining in. Thank you for engaging. Dr. Willis says intentionality of choices, which is so true. Thank you. Aunt Tiffy's on here.
Hey.
Yes. Sometimes just my presence is the most comforting. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Just the presence. You don't have to say anything sometimes. Even sometimes when we wondering what to say, then maybe that's a good indicator to say right now I'm not gonna say anything. In just your presence. Or maybe not even asking a question, just maybe make a statement. I'm here. I'm here for you. So maybe that's something we can use as a strategy to help us when we don't know what to say. So those are good points. Thank you. Let's see. Auntie says something else. When asked how you doing, her response is, "I'm doing the best
I can."
That's a good response.
Yeah.
Doing the best I can. We're trying to engage as well. And look, somebody may be watching thinking, they're just, this is us.
For real.
So I want you to pull up a seat. Thank you for joining us at the table.
Right.
We just want to be ourselves.
Yeah, that's true.
And we have comical moments.
She just went into a full commercial.
Okay. Well, you know what? Commercials will be coming up on the tabletop.
This will be coming up.
Yeah,
we
speak
started right now. That's how we do. Okay, back to your normally scheduled.
And good morning, Monique. We see you on there. But was something that with the protests and the things. Let's talk about that. Yesterday, that I saw something that was really profound. The protesters were marching and the police came out and they blocked them in. But one of the pastors in the city of Louisville, he showed his maturity, but the people were open to receive what he had to say. The trigger was the police officers blocking them in, and they were wanting the people to retaliate and be angry and, go against. He said, hold up. We need to fight another day. We can't go forward. Look at them. Look how they're geared up. Look at us. And the people heard his voice. Some were still angry. Some were still, wanting to, because it's an emotional, it's high intense, and he was like, you know what? If you're going to stay, you're going to stay. This group is leaving. And so people had to be open to receive the wisdom that was coming from his mouth. And so when we are in these high volatile situations, that we have to be open to listen to the mature voice and the wisdom that is coming from that voice. We have to live to see another day. And I think it was Pastor Tim Finley. I want to give him his credit, because that is, I took that. We have to live to see another day. And so that is a point. We are going to march. We're going to do that. But we are not going to fight against people who have, are geared up. We're not going to react off the trigger that they are trying to get for us. We're going to do the opposite, and we're going to use our emotional intelligence.
Yes.
I thought that was so profound. I was watching it. I was like, yes, that is the wisdom that comes. And so I want to speak to the young people who are possibly watching this, that there are some mature people who have seasoned wisdom to share. And because I'm in the level, I'm in the middle. There's people that are more wise than me. I have to be open to receive the wisdom that is coming from their mouth. And so if one thing that you take from me from this time is to be open. To be open. It's okay to have the emotions. And some of the young people were like, no, we're going to do this. He said, we have to fight. And when he said that sentence, we have to fight to see another day. It was like I could see the light bulbs going on. I was like, oh, okay, we do have to. We do, And so having those words to say, that's something. And us as, he didn't belittle the people who were, and that's another thing. He did not belittle the ones that were wanting to stay. He said, okay, that's your choice. But for me and those people who want to listen, we're turning around and we're going another route, and so that is wisdom that we have to be open to receive the wisdom that people share with us, and then the age doesn't have to do it. Wisdom comes in a variety of ages. My granddaughter's 3. She gives me wisdom all the time, yes. And so, we can't look at a person's age and say, you're not wise, and the words that are coming out of your mouth are not going to be able to give me any guidance. And so do you all want to speak on that, just to be the openness, having your mind open? How does one open their mind? How do you open your mind to receive, when you are seeing things that you don't like, and, you have not been equipped. Maybe you haven't grown up in a family. You grew up in a family of a bunch of pop offers. The mama's a pop offer, the daddy's, everybody pops off in the house, and you are trying to be that person that is setting the tone differently for your family.
That's right.
How do you do that?
I think it's back to the accountability piece. If you are someone who doesn't necessarily have that in your circle at the moment, be open to, and this is previous table talks when we talk about intentional relationships, you have to intentionally partner and gain a new relationship for you. And what's key is it can be someone who doesn't 100% agree with you. So what we do is we shut ourselves off, because if, like you said, if grandma was a pop offer, granddaddy was a pop offer, and it's in your genes or in your bloodline, right? Your DNA. What happens is you get comfortable with then going back and talking to the person who pops off, because that's your comfort level. But what about getting with someone else who may have wisdom a little more in certain areas? You may have some wisdom or whatever, but what about getting with someone else that is not in that area for you? And allow that person to be accountability for you, and then not get mad at that person when they try to be a balancer, because we're so used to the comfort level of this certain thing. So I think that's how we start being open, intentional relationships, that when you're feeling a certain thing or a certain trigger, that you don't avoid calling or meeting up and talking to the one who's going to give you balance, because you want to stay in that space. That's what we do. That's just human nature. Let's be real. Like, I'm not calling Martina because she's going to be talking about stay calm in the Lord. Yeah, that's what we do. I'm not calling her. I don't want to hear all that right now, right? And then we go call Susie, because Susie's gonna be like, yeah, let's go, Greg, go with you. You know, thank you. And they rev up whatever that emotion is for you. You don't want to hear the accountability partner, the intentional friend that helps balance that. So you cut them off, or you don't talk to them, or you don't go share that moment with them, because they're gonna help you. You rather go to the comfort level that keeps building that. Back to our point about sitting in it. You know, don't sit in the seat of the scornful. That's Psalms 1. So what we do is we want to go sit in that seat, and therefore we gather with the individuals that's going to help us sit in that seat, opposed to getting by someone who's at the moment, because everybody has their season. Whether in that moment, getting with that person that's sitting by the river of water that it talks about, that's helping balance that out for me. So I think that's how you allow yourself to be open, intentional relationships that are sometimes even uncomfortable out of your norm, because it's going to help buffet and align some things for us in certain time frames.
I would say a big thing is recognizing that you're wrong sometimes.
That's good.
I mean, like, really recognizing that my thoughts were wrong. You know, like really acknowledging that my mind is not right, that my thoughts are wrong. Like, literally, it starts with recognizing that something needs to be changed. Because oftentimes we don't change because we don't see a need to change. So it first starts by recognizing, you know what, that ain't the right way. That's not. I was wrong. My thoughts were wrong. And then once I admit that, then it's like I have to replace. It goes back to a scripture that I pull out for everything, which is Romans 12, to not be conformed to the world, but to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Like, literally, our mindset has to be renewed. We have to exchange the thoughts. We have to exchange the wrong thoughts with the right thoughts. You know what I mean? And it's really just like changing clothes. If I don't like what I got on, I can stand in the mirror all day and say, don't look right, don't look right, don't look right. At some point, I'm gonna have to go to my closet and pick something else out and find something else to put on. So I have to be intentional about changing my thoughts, you know, and one of the ways is like when, again, admitting that I have the emotion, admitting that I have the thought, but literally for me, that pause has been life-saving, because in the midst of it, the pause allows me the opportunity to say, okay, before I go and react and respond to this, let me open my mind up and say, you're wrong, and recognize that I need to exchange that thought, you know. And it really is like, do you all remember the commercial years ago where they said if your house is on fire, to stop, drop, and roll. And if the flames get on your clothes, stop, drop, and roll. Well, anyway, just had to throw that in there. But that is another management technique that the Lord has given me. Is even when my emotions are on fire, to stop, drop, and roll. And the thing about that commercial was, like, if a flame hits your clothes, stop, drop, and roll to put the flame out so that you do not get burned up. You feel, because feelings, we do feel them. When you feel that flame, whether it be anger, hatred, sometimes we gotta stop and drop and roll about some stuff we think is love, and it ain't. Here, it might be an emotion of lust. Don't get loud, but anyway. So it's really when
felt that.
Whatever that emotion is, I have to learn to stop, pause, drop, pray, and then roll up out of it. In the commercial, you put the flames out by rolling, and sometimes you just gotta stop, drop, and roll out of whatever that emotion was at that time, so that I can exchange it for more thoughts. So that opening, that's the opening. So yeah. Anyway. Stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah, stop, drop, and roll. I like that. Stop, pause, drop the emotion off.
Yeah.
And then roll up out of it.
Roll up out of it. Because otherwise you're going to be caught on fire.
Yeah.
And it will overtake you. So literally, it really has been a prescription for my life. And while I'm saying that, one of the things too, even with that, is recognizing, just like natural prescriptions, that you have to have one that fits you. So find the prescription that fits you. And even when dealing with other people, not only find the prescription but that fits you, then don't try to give it to everybody else. That may not be the prescription that fits everybody else. And I'm gonna drop this off and I'm gonna be quiet. But one time, like, I am a goofy person, so sometimes what happens to me is laughing. I might laugh over nothing. What you laughing at? Nothing. I'm laughing because I can laugh. I'm just laughing. And so laughter really does help me. It isn't me covering up, but laughter is a release for me.
Right.
And so at one time when other people were down, I started trying to tell jokes. And one friend of mine said, "You make me really angry when you try to make me laugh and I'm upset. That's not what I need right now." I'm like, I'm just trying to help. But anyway, that helped me, because it helped me to understand that just because that's a prescription for me, I cannot automatically assume that it's a prescription for you. And that's where, even again, going back to being able to navigate, that as you learn yourself and you learn other people, like you goofy too. I ain't even call you that, but you goofy too. You know what I'm saying? So so that laughter that helps us. But for the other person, that is not their prescription. So find a prescription that fits you and, take it. But anyway.
Yeah. And also, in finding the prescription that fits you, find the doctor. So if relationships are doctors, you have to know which friend or which relationship to go to, because like you said, if someone called Martina, she's gonna give them a scripture prayer and lay hands and all that stuff on them, which is okay, and laugh, and so
and that's needed.
Yeah, and that's needed. I had someone and I go through something, and they were like, telling me that afterwards, and I said, "Well, how come you didn't call me?" "Well, I knew you were going to give me something positive." And I wasn't wanting anything positive right then. I didn't get offended. I just said, okay, I wasn't what you needed at the time, but I'm going to give you this positive word right now, And so at that time, they were ready to receive. And so we cannot condemn people when they are wanting to process. Because sometimes you want to be mad. Sometimes you need to express that.
Don't ask wrong.
Or that other smash house or something, to get that out. You have to, being angry is a natural emotion. And so, but it's just what you do with that anger. You cannot, what's the saying? You cannot make permanent decisions are temporary emotions.
Mhm.
You don't want to wind up, with a life sentence off of something that in that time, that's a decision that is going to affect your whole family. That is something temporal. And so that's where that pause comes in. That pause is so important that when you are feeling it, and you have to feel it, and sometimes you have to feel it and pause at the same time. You have to still away and find the right person. Sometimes emotions just flood in and you just don't know what to do with them. And when you don't know what to do, when you have not had the time to get your strategy together so that you can navigate, that's when pausing is very important. When you don't have that a level of maturity, because there is levels to this. And I'm going to say this, and I probably have said this in every table talk, on every topic. Give yourself grace.
Thank you.
Give yourself grace.
Remind us.
Yes, that what I'm feeling. Here's how I'm going to say this to people. Don't judge people because you caught them at an opportunity at a time where they were vulnerable, and they expressed themselves. It might be a person that cussed, and I was just so angry, and that's what they were feeling at that time, and that is okay. It is okay I did a post the other day. It's okay not to be okay, and to express that you are okay. Ain't no front and faking. They used to say that back in the day. Front and faking, your hair right.
Yeah.
There is no future in your fronting. So that's why we have to be real with how we feel. And one thing I tell myself as a way of getting through emotional trying times, everyone does not think like me.
That's it. Right
and
there.
So that makes me pause and give myself grace, and to give the other person grace. Everyone doesn't think like me, and that's okay.
That's their personal prescription.
There you go. That's that is my personal prescription, and I take it every day, all day. It is needed. And so, how are we doing on time? Oh, okay. We're doing really good. Any comments?
Thoughts? Anybody?
I like what Tempe said. Auntie Tempe said, "If nothing changes, nothing changes."
Yes.
We have to be willing to change. That's one of the constants of life. Change.
Yeah. It's evolving.
That's always going to be a part of our life until we get up out of here.
Yeah.
So I think one of my prescriptions have been recently is just even repeating to myself the serenity prayer. Look, peace to accept the things I can't change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So I want to be open up to wisdom wherever it may come from. Like Vernice said, it can come from a little child, but you got to be open to hear it. It's something about wisdom. It has its own sound. And it doesn't matter where it comes from. When it comes, it's like something perks up, and you either ignore it or you catch it. It's not something that can be taught. It has to be caught. Like you catch it, like, man, that was a word of wisdom. So even that analogy you used about the officers, blocking them in. So people heard that voice. Look, everybody heard it. That's why they stood, to attention. It captivated them. So even when wisdom comes, either you embrace it and open. Some people did, and then some people maybe didn't in the moment, and that's okay. That's their choice. But that wisdom still gonna ring with them, maybe at a later date, because that's how powerful wisdom is.
Yes.
It sticks with you, it stays with you. So either it's like the nail. Remember nail laters? I used to love nail laters. You just get them a little soft, and then you open them and show them. That's another commercial. Nail laters. That's another commercial. Nail laters. I know y'all used to love them. Apple.
Come back.
Pineapple. Come back.
Oh,
she went there.
I'm gonna get some nail laters. They still sell them.
They do.
Okay. But that's how wisdom is. Now and later, you can utilize wisdom. So embracing that, I think, is important. But that's been one of my prescriptions, the serenity prayer.
Yes.
To keep myself focused. I just keep saying it to myself because I know there's certain things that I can't probably individually change, but Lord, just give me peace in that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some courage that I've been building up in the moment. You know, these two sisters know, so I've been building some courage, building up. Like, yes, Lord, yes, you're giving me the courage to change the things that you've given me assignment to change. And everybody listening has a part.
Yeah.
We're going to encourage you all. Yeah. Look, you have a part.
Yeah.
Don't let the emotional roller coaster keep you from focusing in on what that is your part to change.
Mm-hmm.
Like Auntie said, nothing changes if nothing changes. But guess what? Nothing changes if people don't help change it.
Yeah.
So each person has a part to play. And your part's not my part. Martina's part, not Vernice's part. Vernice's part is not my part. Everybody has a part. So that's what we're striving to push here at Table Talks.
Yeah.
Just get everybody to get comfortable with their seat at the table. You got a seat.
Yeah.
You got a seat.
Yeah. Part of the serenity prayer that I've seen people add another line to that is to change the things I cannot accept. And so when we have that emotional trigger, something is triggering us, that's where you are supposed to make change. That's your lane. You know, that's why it makes something rise up within you, because that is where you are supposed to focus in on. And you can't get upset when other people don't have that same response. Attention is being brought to you, so that the solution is within yourself. And so that's when you have to gain that emotional intelligence, maturity, to be able to withstand and say, okay, I'm going to come up with a strategy. You know, I'm going to have a navigational tool to, go through this process of bringing about change that is needed. And so, don't look at it as a negative. Here I am, Boston Poly. There is a positive in every situation. Sometimes sometimes it's small, like a microorganism. But we have to give ourselves time in the pause to look for it. And sometimes that pause may be a bit of a time. I'm pausing right now, the next day after work, when Wednesday we had, the decision day. And then the next day we had to go into work after that. And I was still feeling it. I'm real. I was still feeling it. And I had to tell my coworkers, because they were wanting to talk about it. And I said, not right now, please.
Yes.
And I did it with a smile, not right now, please. And that was me being real with myself, because normally I probably would have entertained conversations just to be polite. But I wasn't wanting to be polite at that moment. And I knew that if I was going to engage in conversation, that I might have said something wrong. And so that was me. That comes to me knowing me.
Yeah.
That's
wisdom.
And they honored how I felt. And when they wanted to talk about it, I walked away. I just simply walked away and did something else, because I'm not going to demand and command the room. You can't talk about something because I'm here. No, I don't want to talk about it. So you all can engage. I'm going to go over here. And if I'm ready, then that's when I'll engage in conversation. So the foundation of everything in life is knowing yourself. Period.
And being able to, but that ability to walk away from situations is so important. Like literally, that in me learning emotional intelligence, having the ability to walk away from some situations. Sometimes we waste words, we waste energy. But that ability to walk away, even in this time, talking about dealing with emotions, sometimes we can get our emotions all turned up from Facebook comments, from a Facebook argument. And I know I've seen some stuff, especially in this time. I picked it up and I want to give you a piece of my mind, especially on some news articles or on there. and you see and you want to say, you call yourself blah, blah, blah. And there have been times I done typed it up and the Lord says, delete it.
Yep.
Do not invest. You got to know yourself to the point of, is this something I should be investing my emotional energy in right now? Or do I need to walk away? And one of the things we have to ask ourselves is, when I'm dealing with situations and I'm about to invest my emotions in it, is this something that's worth the investment? Is me winning this, you know what I mean? Like, you have to evaluate the circumstance and recognize, is this something that I need to evaluate my emotional energy into? And if I get into an argument with Joe Bo Peep, that's his name, Joe Bo Peep. If I get in an argument with Joe Bo Peep, and is there anything that's going to change as a result of it?
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like, in situations, we have to realize, like, what situation should I be involved in? That's a new word. I don't know what it means. I just made it up. But in boasting is investing in a post. In boasting, it's a new word. In boasting, that's a new word.
How you spell it?
In boasting, INVOSTING. In boasting.
In boasting.
So make sure that you are in boasting, okay? Literally, that you are investing in things that are worth your energy and time. Like the fight for freedom, the fight for equality. That is worth the investment.
Mm-hmm.
But Susie Q over here, whose opinion won't change the price of a pile of beans. You know what I mean? Like, literally, just being intelligent about what should I invest my energy in, and being able to walk away from situations, conversations, whatever, and recognizing that me walking away does not mean that I'm weak.
There you go. Yeah,
Me being able to walk away.
Strength.
Come on there.
Because
meekness is strength under
the strong.
control.
Yeah, the strong person walks away.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
yes.
That is really good.
Yeah, that's strength
Yeah.
under control. This is my leftover.
Yeah.
Can I throw my? This is my leftover before we leave. We typically give leftovers, but I brought this today intentionally. Hope you can see it. It's like a little hourglass.
Right here.
For you all. Now, I got this at the Dollar Tree, so you can go get this as well. It's just a friendly reminder. I used this the first part of this year to share in a session I was teaching in, just to help people understand the time. Like, time is so valuable. How are we investing our time? How are we investing our energies and our emotions? That helps us to have emotional intelligence, to redeem and recognize that our time is short, just in life's period. So we gotta do what we gotta do. So even if you need to go buy one of these yourselves, invest $1 into yourself to keep it. I pulled this off my dresser today because that's where I've been keeping it for all this year, since early this year, to remind me that as I'm talking, that sand is keep going. When that sand is gone from inside, it's gone. And each one of us have an amount of time. Invest our times well, so that we can really, really get the most out of what we're purposed here to do. And that includes your emotions. What am I lending all my energies to? Cheryl Riley, she wrote a book, Peace is the New Success. I think it's the book. Or that may just be the slogan, and I can't remember. But I'm going to give her credit for her quote. And she says, don't give 100% of who you are to 10%. You just giving all your emotions into 10% of who you are. And then you feel the drain and the energy of it. So that's my leftover for today as far as emotional intelligence, to redeem the time. We have to take the time to pause. So look, if you even need to use this for 2 reasons, to flip this thing and say, I'm taking to this thing, I'm going to breathe and pause and let myself be mad. Like Vernice said, look, if you got to go hit some stuff, don't do all that while this sand is going to hurt. You need to let it all out. As a pause reminder. This could be a pause reminder, but it can also be a reminder of you recognizing your time is precious and utilizing that time, not to live in a bottled up state of traps. What was it? She said, trigger but not trap. use this as a reminder. But I'm going to take my pause, but I'm not going to let that trap me and steal my time.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, man, I've been mad for 5 years. 5 years gone. So I know it's a little more sobering, but sorry.
But that's real. That's a real leftover. You know, here at the Table Talk, we give a lot of food to eat. You know, we give meaty meals. And so thank you for that leftover. Martina, do you have a leftover?
The leftover that I would like to give in the box for you to take away.
Look at this. Voice. Okay. Sorry.
Is a starting place for emotional intelligence is soul healing. That sometimes it is hard for us to grow in that area emotionally because of trauma that has occurred within our soul. Because our soul is the house for our emotions. And so when the house is damaged and the house needs to be repaired, that means that what's in it is going to be impacted by that damage. So a good starting place for growing and maturing in emotional intelligence is soul healing. And us taking the time to say, you know, like, Lord, there are places in my past, there are experiences that I have gone through, and oftentimes our triggers and the way we respond is based on the data that we've stored in our soul. So we have to take the time to allow God to heal our souls. You know, we have to take the time for our, and it isn't that you forget things. Mm-hmm. What you've gone through, there's no like magic button to say, woo, erase, delete.
Yeah.
But there is the ability that just because I have the scar does not rule me anymore. And as a matter of fact, the scar represents a place that hurt at one time that has now been healed. So walk through the soul healing, and sometimes that process of being healed in your soul is one that can hurt, because I have to acknowledge it, because sometimes instead of us going through the process for our soul to be healed, we've just covered it up, but there really hasn't been any healing that's taken place. So open your soul up. Allow God to heal your soul. Seek help. If you need a counselor, there's nothing wrong with it. That does not mean that you're weak. Do whatever is necessary for your soul to be healed so that you can mature in the area of emotional intelligence. It's not enough for us just to say, here's a car, go drive it. You know what I mean? Like, you have to learn, you have to go through some type of deliverance process. So allow your soul to be healed. And in the midst of the healing, you will see yourself being able to grow up and be ready to navigate and drive that car. So that's my leftover.
Yes.
And here's the last thing too. And this one, I really take this. This is that side sauce. That's the side sauce for your leftovers.
Yeah.
That there may be ways, you know, one of the ways for me that God really helped in this area of emotional intelligence was, of course, primarily with the Word of God and with prayer. And then He gave me this song that really helped me. Here it goes. Do you know the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man? So I was just that bust out singing the Muffin Man. And God is my Muffin Man. And He helped me with my muffins.
She won.
I don't even know how.
That's it.
You gotta follow my hand.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. So you have the leftovers from Martina Young and the leftovers from April Starks. And Martina brought some muffins with her leftovers. So we thank them for those leftovers. And so my leftover is in emotional intelligence. that if we do not tap into the intelligent part of our emotions, then we will find opportunities to break. And I have an acronym for you.
Oh, good.
So 5 ways not to break when you are in an emotional state of mind is to be aware of your triggers. So that's the B in break. The word is break that we're going to break down.
Oh, it's
So
break.
break.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna type this in so everybody has.
So be aware of your triggers. That's not key. Be aware of your triggers. Or regulate your own emotions. That is very important. You know, I can look at Martina and say, girl, you need to get it together. but I need to regulate myself. And then Martina looked at me like, girl, you just popped off at something.
You better eat these muffins.
Eat these muffins. And then the E is your emotional gauge. Identify what you're feeling. You know, be okay with what you're feeling. Your emotional gauge. Where are you on that gauge? And then acts performed from an emotional standpoint can impact others. Mm-hmm. It's not just about me. Mm-hmm. That I am a representative of my family, of my organization, of my children, you know, of table talks, of my church. I am a representative of the people that, you know, look at me. So it's so much bigger than me in that moment that there are repercussions that come from my popping off. And then the K is to know how to interpret your emotions. Know how to interpret those. And so thank you so much for taking the time to sit at the table with us. I am Vernice Mechel, April Starks, Martina Young, and please take the leftovers that we presented to you all, pop them in the microwave later on and chow down on them. And we would love, we're going to be moving forward. We would love to have guests at the table, you know, when that time comes. And so we want you all to send an email. If you would like to be a guest on Table Talks, we would love for you to join us. And so send an email with your name and contact information to tabletalksllp@gmail.com. And we would love for you to come and have a seat at the table as we talk about what's relevant in the world today. Be blessed, be a blessing, and be you. Be intelligent.
We love you. Eat out.